What if I told you that a self admitted narcissist can actually be one of the best damn podcasters around? Would you believe it? Well, let's find out if this is true.
Well, hey there, Indy, turn your dial. Dapper Don's here to make you smile with a co-host sharp and riff so true. We've got the laughs, the rants, the view. What's going on? Oh, what's the word? Indy's the city where we'll be heard. From Monument Circle to Broad Ripple on. What's going on with Dapper Don? So grab your coffee, Hoosiers, and let's get to it. 'Cause we're in the house!
What's going on? It's Dapper Don, and I'm excited to welcome you all back. The dictionary defines the word narcissist as an individual with an excessive, often unhealthy preoccupation with themselves characterized by an exaggerated sense of self-importance, a profound need for admiration, and a lack of empathy for others. The resident TikTok Starbucks psychologist might define it as that guy who took 2 hours instead of the usual 1 hour to respond to your text. Either way, we all use that word as a way to completely shut down the opposing side. After all, if you're a narcissist, you're evil, right? Never mind the fact that, like most people with their mental health struggles, a majority of narcissists live relatively normal, unabrasive lives, and the cases we get to see are the result of an extremely vocal minority. Narcissists are the big bad, the big villains threatening everyone who even remotely has a good heart. Or are they? And listen, I'm not by any means discounting the struggles of those who have been abused both emotionally and physically by narcissistic individuals. As someone who's suffered it before himself, I would never dare to invalidate that. And I'm not denying that there is a correlation between that and abuse. But there's a correlation between every mental health condition and an uptick in abuse. It's not like a guy with bipolar or borderline is immune to being an ass. Autistic individuals can be assholes. Depressed people can be assholes. So on, so forth. It's about what we choose to do in any given moment. These ain't stat reductions in a video game. You can live a normal life and be a good person no matter what's going on mentally. And to prove this, I've brought in a self-admitted, quote-unquote, proud narcissist to tell his story and give his raw thoughts. Hopefully by the end of it, you'll unfollow Brittany's life advice and actually be compelled to go outside. Say hi to the people and introduce yourself, friend.
What's up, man? My name is Zzen. I am a proud narcissist. That's about it.
So tell me, what do you got going on? What do you like to do? How would somebody describe you?
A narcissist. Besides that, I tend to be very empathetic at the same time. And I tend to I have my own organization. I have my own, I'm writing a book right now, whatever. I'm a motivational speaker. I'm a life coach. And I'm also, just like a dope person.
Yeah, I saw some of your videos. Yeah, you're pretty buff, which we're gonna get into later. As far because I saw why you said it. It's like the reason that you decided to get healthy was actually hilarious. But
Yeah.
now, like you said, you are a narcissist. But why do you use that word to describe yourself?
Because people use it when they wanted to go against me. So whenever say if I do get into a certain argument, say when I'm like me dating, right? I've been called a narcissist numbers of times with a bunch of women. So I pretty much use that to my good. So I started studying what narcissists do. So they say narcissism have jealousy issues, lack of accountability. They have possession situations and all that. So I realized that I have most of the qualities that a narcissist has. So maybe they were right on some aspect. So it comes to a point where I just use that to understand the average human have narcissistic traits. So why not just embrace it instead of shaming it?
Right. You know what? That's true. I mean, people say that, the narcissists brag on themselves, but I've heard people that I would classify to be relatively quote unquote normal do the same thing. I mean, you're always going to run into that person, You're always going to run into a jealous type. You're always going to run into those personalities. But so this wasn't doctor diagnosed. You just kind of found that you fit the description and kind of applied it to yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely. Basically, I started trolling. Like that's why even if you look at my Instagram, like my Instagram says I'm the most empathetic narcissist you'll ever meet and everything. So like it was based off of what my ex-girlfriend was telling me. My ex-girlfriend kept telling me that I'm a narcissist, whatever, I have a God complex, which is true because I was some sort of arrogant and I was like a jealous type of person. So I'm not gonna hold that against her, but it just come to a point where like it wasn't irate. It was just like a natural instinct. Like if something is in my possession or whatever and I have to protect it, I'm going to get possessive, I guess. That's when it's
Right.
like that's when they start calling me narcissist or whatever because when I see certain stuff that I own like dwindle away, like I fight for it.
Exactly. Okay. Let's talk about that relationship for a second. We don't have to go into detail, but I just want to
Oh
know,
yeah.
to what extent was there like this possessiveness, this jealousness, this self-centeredness? Like to what degree was this? Was it a high
Well,
degree or was it just like go ahead.
I can tell you exactly the first time when like she did call me a narcissist was when we was in this was in the car. We was in our car or whatever. And like she was telling me that she had to go out with her friends and all that. But mind you, this is like every weekend she went out with her friends. So I was like, hey yo, when are you gonna spend time with me? And next thing you know, she said, I don't want to be trapped in a relationship, whatever, and not hang out with my friends and all that. And I'm looking like, hold on, you don't hang out with me at all. So all I'm asking is, can you like lay low with going out to the clubs or whatever and just hang out with me sometimes? Next thing you know, she said like, you sound very possessive and you sound like a narcissist and all that. So that's exactly what happened in the beginning. So like so that's exactly what like that's exactly what went down. It had nothing to do with me calling her names, me fighting with her and all that. It just had something to do with me wanting to spend time with her and telling her, hey, look, your girlfriends are gonna be there. I need you here too.
Right. I mean
So yeah,
that's pretty normal. And I'm
yeah,
assuming like I'm assuming the God complex thing was you not bending to her every whim because you're a simp. That's what she
right.
called a God complex, I'm assuming, right?
Right, right, facts, fact. And here's the thing though. Here's the thing. Mind you, I did have a God complex, but not with that relationship. That was the first time I've ever heard like something called a God complex or a narcissist. But before then, it was like a lot worse.
Okay. And what do you mean by a lot worse? Like, what were some of the things that you were believing and doing?
So I used to get praised for fighting. Like I was like a big fighter or whatever. And I used to get praised for how I look and all that. So like basically I just took that to my advantage. Like I used to just fight every day simply because like I knew I can take advantage of certain people in that type of way. And like I also like when I was living in New Jersey, whatever, I used to get like doors held for me and all that because I was like well known to a point where I got used to that power. So like I expect people to like give me their like I expect them to give me their ass to kiss. I mean, well, you know what I'm saying. So
Yeah, no,
like
I get what you're saying.
so so yeah, basically like the more I got fed praise, the more I got felt like a god. To a point where like the moment like I started losing it, I started going crazy a little bit.
I think that happens to all of us to a certain extent. I just think that not everybody's often willing to admit it because when a certain place is your stomping grounds and then you leave that place and now all of a sudden you're around a bunch of people it happens to us all. I mean, you know, I don't know if that necessarily falls under specifically narcissistic criteria. I think maybe if there's an extremity to it, but it doesn't seem like there too much was. I mean,
But I'm sorry, but here's the thing with that though. Like the problem with me getting praise, like when I started getting older and like I started to develop looks and a personality and strength and all that, I used to get oppressed. I used to get like abused and neglected and so-called violated in certain ways and all that. So the more like I haven't gotten therapy from that situation. So it's kind of like, let me give you an example. It's like a snake bite. Say you get bit by a rattlesnake and all that. You don't use any anti venom. You don't use any type of medicines or whatever to take care of that wound. But you put a band-aid over it. So when you put a band-aid over it, you can't see the wound at all. But you can like, but it's still eating up your body. So with me going through a bunch of oppression and like all this abuse as a child, not getting any help, but yet getting false praise because I look a certain way and getting false praise because like I play basketball or football and all that, I still
That was
need
the
healing
Band-Aid.
from. Yeah. That's the thing when I like whenever I didn't get healing from what happened to me as a child, and then they didn't address it, but they give me praise over like all the stuff that I've been through. The moment somebody opened myself, like the moment somebody opened me back up to what my past was, I will overreact because I wanted to hide it with all the praise that I was getting. So that's the band-aid basically. But if you open up the band-aid, you still see the wound just eating me alive, basically. So the moment somebody try to open
Right.
me up, that's when you get the narcissist.
Right.
That's when you get
But
the lack of
see,
accountability.
yep. And see, what therapy does is because they say when you keep a Band-Aid on a wound too long that you're gonna risk the wound getting worse because it's not allowed to breathe and actually heal. Therapy rips the bandage off and lets the wound breathe. So, I mean, a lot of people, kinda misunderstand when they just say, "Go to therapy, go to therapy, go to therapy." They don't understand that in order to go to therapy, you have to be willing to whatever wound you're dealing with, it has to be already on the way to healing almost, because therapy is gonna rip it all the way off, and if it's still bleeding, it's gonna cause issues.
And I also tell people that too. Like I also tell people, if you do seek therapy, make sure you're telling the truth to yourself. Because a lot of people that go to therapy, they lie to the therapist. So now that therapist is gonna work on that lie instead of working on what's really going on. So I definitely agree with what you're saying, basically, because a lot of people do go to therapy for years and years and not get any progress because they wanna live that lie that they've been dealing with for years instead of understanding what really
Absolutely.
happened.
Yes, and I guess that leads into my, next question. What was there a specific experience in your life that kinda flipped the switch for you, or was it a combination of things? And if so, what were some of the most, I guess, potent things that kinda started to make the dominoes fall in that regard?
Well, I tell you this, like when I got my butt whooped by my mother because I was hungry, that was one situation because like basically me and my family we haven't eaten for 3 days. Like and then one day like we finally ate something, but it wasn't enough. So I pretty much like took a piece of my dad's rib and like just start because mind you, we like my family had to feed 4 kids or whatever on like a $30 a week budget. So so when we did eat, like we had like a spoonful of corn, a spoonful of rice, like a piece of sausage and all that. So when I saw this big slab of rib from my dad, I'm like, yo, like this is what I want. So next thing you know, I took like a fork, ate it up. My sister saw me. My sister told on me. Next thing you know, started getting my butt whooped for like I I swore it could have been hours. Like, all I saw, like, basically, like, I was dodging, like, I was trying to dodge the belt, whatever, but when I looked up, I saw, like, just blood in my mother's eyes or whatever. She just kept hitting me, and I knew my mom was going through stress too and all that, but she took it all out on me that one day, basically, and, it came to a point where, like, I just got traumatized in that situation. It was also, like, something that happened with my mother as well when I was going through molestation in, school. And I told one of my friends, like, "Hey, look, this guy's touching me whenever I try to go to the bathroom or whatever." So next thing you know, like my friends was making fun of me, saying like, "Oh, you're homosexual and all that." And mind you, like I said, I think I was 6 years old at the time. So I was getting mad because like now he started telling all my friends or whatever, like, yo, he's messing with somebody in the bathroom and all that. So next thing you know, I had to black out a little bit So the teacher didn't hear any of the kids making fun of me, but she heard me yell. So that's when she said, like, "Yo, you need to keep quiet." So I started blacking out on her too. Cause mind you, I'm already going through anxiety because I'm getting made fun of or whatever, and nobody's doing anything about
Right.
the kid that's like trying to do stuff with me in the bathroom and all that. So I'm blacking out on the teacher or whatever. Then the teacher called my mother. So I was hoping that my mother understood what was going on. So as soon as my mother came, she said like why are you acting up in school and all that. All I said was but, the word but, and then she smacked me in my face. And that's when I was like, you know what? I wanted to fight my mother right there. Cause at that time, like that hit didn't even hurt. All I heard was the kids laughing, saying that my face is gonna turn red and green and all that. All I saw was the teacher just shaking her head. All I saw was my mother just yelling at me to the point where I wanted to fight everybody, but I knew I couldn't beat my mother. I knew I couldn't beat my teacher. So I took it out on the only group of people that I can take it out on them. The kids that was in school that was in the same grade as me. So I started beating up everybody. So that's when I realized I had
My
power with
God.
my hands. Yeah, so that's when I realized I had power with my hands or whatever. Even though I was 6 years old, I was like, I was rocking.
Hmm.
I was knocking these kids out. So I was looking like, all right, so this is how it's gonna be. You don't want to hear me talk, so now I'm gonna start punching. You don't want to hear me like him, like you don't want to understand what I'm going through. Now I'm gonna start punching.
Wow.
So that's
And
when I
I
realized I had power.
imagine, yeah. And I imagine that the abuse you suffered at home, what you went through at school, the various examples of sexual abuse, I imagine that those were pretty isolating. Which, I mean, if there's any condition by which you either fall into completely horrible self esteem or become a narcissist, isolation is what does it,
Yeah, yeah.
I'd
I
imagine.
mean, well, yeah, like well, basically, I used to isolate myself a lot, but I also was outside at the same time. Cause mind you, I used to
Right.
like the thing is, I had a lot of friends. I had a lot of friends, but I just never want. It was like me trying to prove a point. Cause every time I do go outside or whatever, it was to fight or to play basketball. But when I go home, I just go home, just sit in my corner to play my Pokemon game and all that. So so basically, like it felt like I didn't want to be around my friends or whatever because I knew it was just a surface type of situation. So I wanted to stay near myself for that because those are the same people that actually caused harm to me in the beginning.
Do you so I'm assuming that you weren't very comfortable being vulnerable with basically anybody in your life. Was there anybody in your life that you could be sort of that deeper level with?
Like, yo, my family
My.
don't even know I got shot at instead. Like my family don't even know any of that. So I mean, like my family don't know about like all the fights that I've been in. My family don't know anything at all. So it came to a point where I kept it to myself until recently. And like I made a post on my Facebook saying like cuz I was posing with my little niece. And I said like, "Oh, I remember this day. This is the day I got into like two fights or whatever and then had to celebrate my niece's birthday." Then my sister was like, "Oh, you never fought before." I'm like, "What?" Like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Yo, come on. Like I guess you really got to go backtrack on who I am."
Well, I mean, in some ways, I guess that could be a good thing because from what it sounds like, they would have made up something about you being a bad person or something.
Facts, facts, facts. I agree.
As you found yourself getting older and, these experiences were shaping you, but you started to, sort of get that morality. Did you find yourself actively trying to push away from the things that people said were narcissistic? Or were you just kind of like, fuck it, I'm already down the rabbit hole. I might as well just.
Well, in the beginning, I tried to push it away because it wasn't instilled in me that I was a narcissist. Like it's kind of like if you establish something in your brain for years and then you find out something new, everybody's gonna like you're gonna push it out automatically because it's foreign to you. So of course, like you're gonna have like that pushback in the beginning, but the more I started thinking about it, and this is why isolation made me like a better person because I didn't argue with the people that were calling me a narcissist. I just stayed to myself and started thinking. So like even as much as it bothered me or whatever, Like I wanted to prove a point at the same time. So I started looking up what narcissist is. I started looking up what a God complex is. And I started like breaking down like what traits I had that was narcissistic or was a God complex. And then I pretty much agreed with it. Next thing you know, I realized that it was naturally in me. Like I'm naturally a manipulated person, but I see the good in manipulation. I don't see the bad in manipulation. I'm like a natural jealous person. I don't see the bad in jealousy. I see the good in jealousy.
Mm.
I think these are all good
What are
traits.
yeah. Okay. Well, okay, for example, let's talk about manipulation. How do you make manipulation into something good? Kinda walk
Okay.
me through that.
All right, so boom, right? Uh, who are the most manipulative people on this earth right now?
Rich.
Are the babies? Are babies manipulative? So don't they cry when they want something? Don't they give out their hand or whatever when they want to get picked up? Like it's certain. So like manipulation is just like trying to convince somebody to see certain stuff your way or understand certain stuff your way and all that. So like if you look at like certain people like salespeople, they're manipulative. If you look at lawyers, they're manipulative. The only problem with people today is they get manipulated by the wrong people because they choose the wrong people to bring it into their life.
And if we're going by that, we all have done. I mean, even if just let's just say somebody works as a cashier. Well, you're working for a company whose goal is to manipulate a bunch of people into buying their specific product. So they're going to give you manipulation tactics to get people to buy that specific product. Even if it's just you standing there being like, "How can I help you?" That's still a tactic.
Facts. Facts.
Okay.
That's that's the problem with like a lot of people today. They look at certain stuff is bad because they chose the bad people. Those are the narcissists right there. When they look at certain stuff like, oh, you're manipulative. No, you just chose the wrong person. Why don't you blame yourself? Maybe you're the wrong person. Maybe you're the person that you need to like check on and all that. Because manipulation is just a way of life. Being judgmental is just a way of life. That's what God gave us, so called. But even with intuition, basically, people said like, oh, we shouldn't judge and all that. But what is the intuition for? You have to make some sort of judgment in life because that's the way we survive. The only problem with people today is it's the narcissistic people that want to use these words for bad to shame other people.
Yeah. And you know, I think even then, well, okay, well, like in your opinion, what do you think people get wrong when they talk about narcissism and narcissists? Like, what is something that people get wrong, or what do you
We
think people
can't
get wrong in general?
that we can't be empathetic. That's false. Because every gangster has somebody to care for. Every abusive person has somebody to care for. So like it comes to a point where like when they say that they don't have empathy, they're stupid. Because that's what empathy is in everybody. Unless there's certain sicknesses or whatever that will cause you like to lose empathy or whatever because it mess up the right side of your brain and all that. But outside of that, anybody that have like a right side of the brain have empathy. If you have like one half, like a half a brain or whatever, all right, cool, then you might be dead. It is what it is. But
It is
the
what it.
average person, yeah, the average person have empathy, period.
Yeah, I think people get it mixed up because I mean, abuse is terrible, and so, and I mean, it's like when you're being abused, it feels like the person doesn't love you. Just because you're being abused doesn't mean that that abuser doesn't feel love. Now, why is this important to note? It's important to note because when evaluating people's actions, if you actually want to get answers, at least enough answers to help them, you have to know what's behind it, all of what's behind it. You can't just know the surface level. You can't just have this version like I'm not talking to the Joker here. Right? This isn't
Mm.
some one note comic villain. It's like the people have a lot of reasons for why they do what they do.
Facts. I totally agree with you. Yeah. I totally agree. So I mean,
Right. And speaking of, do you think the term narcissist is even overused? Because a lot of times people just use it to describe somebody who's cocky or confident.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing. Oh my gosh, you brought this one up. Okay. There's nothing wrong with being cocky and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. The reason why I say this is because like I can look in the mirror today and say, "Hey, yo, look, I'm a handsome ass brother." If I tell the world that I'm a handsome ass brother, they're gonna look at me like I'm arrogant. But if I say that somebody else is attractive, they're just gonna like look at it like it's nothing. So why do I have the right to say somebody else looks a certain way or dance a certain way or sings a certain way, but I can't say it to myself?
Right.
So
And
why
see,
not
we live
just
in
yeah,
that. Yeah. Well, I was going to say we live in that weird self-deprecation age. I'm sure you're familiar with it that, "Oh, I hate myself, LOL."
right,
That
right,
shit.
right. Facts. And the fact that we rather focused on negative stuff than positive shows that maybe we're saying wrong things or whatever. Like maybe we need to change the narrative of what we're saying, period. Like so if we like look at negative stuff as like a positive now, whatever. If narcissism is positive because we look at it as negative. Like we're like it's yeah, it's totally backwards. Everything is totally backwards today.
And like I said, a majority of narcissists, they live pretty functional lives. I mean, just because somebody has this doesn't mean that it completely rules over their entire character. It's just that, a lot of people that say this are people that I've seen in relationships where the person is abusing them. And it's not necessarily because they're a narcissist, it's just the person is abusing them. And rather than leaving, they'll keep going back. And then they'll blame everybody else in the aftermath. I'm sure you've seen that.
This is a story, like well, one of my friends was telling me a story about like how this guy killed his wife and all that. And it was a brutal story and all that, but and the dude looked crazy. The dude looked crazy, but like they're considering him to be a narcissist and all that. But I remember this family, this I guess this couple. And I remember how he used to get rocks thrown at him, whatever. I remember like she hit like his car with a baseball bat and all that. But and they used to fight all the time. But this time they just took it out of hand, I guess. But now the person that like been more abusive, which was the woman abusing the man, like is told to be the victim and the man is being the narcissist. Why can't we just look at both of them as narcissistic instead of just focusing on the person that actually, I guess, won? I don't know. I don't know how you put it.
I don't. I mean, that's a good question. I mean, and a lot of times it is often a pointing, look at this narcissistic man, because it's easy to say, oh, this person was abusive. Oh, they're narcissistic, so that abuse makes sense. It's more comforting to people to do that. But I mean, it's like I said, if he was autistic, if he was bipolar, if he was borderline, he still probably would have been that same level of abusive. It's just that he happened to be a narcissist in this case.
And I personally think men are more empathetic than women, if you think about it. So I would say that the women are more narcissistic. So whenever we do deal with certain relationships and all that, we have to look at the woman or whatever as a narcissist instead of the man.
Boy, it's gonna sink this show if you don't explain that a little bit more in depth.
All right, so boom. All right, so boom. So what does the one like? What do females have to do for the man to like get the man to accept them?
Traditionally, just look pretty at this point.
Look pretty, just look pretty. But what does the man have to do? We have to hold doors. We have to like pump their gas, whatever. We have to pay for dates, and we have to do a bunch of stuff for this woman to feel feel like they're good, I guess. So the man have to do all this stuff or whatever, like the man have to protect the woman, the man have to cater to the woman, the man have to like protect, like do all this stuff to the woman or whatever, and the woman just sit there and do nothing. And then yet, whenever like we have to propose, but we're the ones getting divorced. We're the ones that's getting broken up with. So all this stuff, whatever, is catering to women, and women have every decision to take that kid away from that man, take the marriage away from that man, and the man is not doing anything. The man isn't like filing for divorce. The man isn't like like doing child support situations and all that. The man is just there to care for the woman. If the man don't like the woman is gonna leave. If the woman don't like the the woman is gonna try to destroy everything that the man had.
Yep. And now, again, I got to bring up the possible counter argument to this, which is a lot of women are going to be saying, well, I don't need no man to protect me. I don't need no man to do such and such and so and so. I don't need no man to do this. I don't need no man. I'm a feminist, blah, 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 blah. It's going to be a bunch of that. What do you have to say in response to
Outside of that,
that?
but outside of that though, like you could say that you don't need a man, but like that shows how narcissistic you are in the first place. Because what's the point of saying that you don't need a man when you actually do? Because y'all also saying the same group is the least protected. So why are you talking about you're so independent, but you're the least protected? Why are you contradicting yourself? Which one do you want? Do you want to be protected or do you want to be independent?
And I would argue that it's like the moment we stop pretending that we don't need each other is the moment that our relationships will actually have a higher quality. I mean, that's part of the narcissistic framework too. I think narcissism has just infiltrated the greater dating world in general, and it's just a bunch of people in denial about it.
Facts, 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 facts. I agree.
Because it's like, it's all this nonchalant, I mean, I'm sure I can't text at this time. I got to wait 3 days. I mean, even back then, it was the wait 3 days rule. Type of shit is that? If you like me, then I'm pretty sure you won't mind me texting you the next day. Like,
Facts, facts,
I don't know. I don't
facts.
know.
Nah, I haven't heard the 3 day situation, but I know where you're coming from with that because like I've seen like a lot of women that actually do like they want women like they want men to like cater to them, like fight for them and all that. So like now they're gonna put it's the moment you go into that 3 day rule and the friend zone rule or whatever, then I would say like, dude, she don't want you. Because the average woman know what they want. The average woman or whatever, as soon as they like see that they like you and all that, you could bring them back home whenever you feel like it. The average,
Essentially,
yeah,
if a woman likes you, and this is, if a woman likes you, she'll annoy the fuck out of you.
yes,
You won't get enough of her. She will leap mountains to make sure that you know that she likes you. There is no case of a woman liking somebody, really liking them, and toying with them the way a lot of fellas have been toyed with. No
facts,
case.
facts, facts. And the problem with a lot of women, which are the narcissist, like they would they would legit keep you around just in case they do need something. If there's no other option that's going around or whatever, they'll like hit you up and say, "Hey, look, I'm hungry" and all that. They'll say random stuff. If they want food, like they'll hit you up for that. If they want like if other options isn't around or whatever, and they want sex, they'll hit you up with that. So like it's gonna come to a point where if they do hold you for 3 or 4 days, then that means somebody else is ahead of you.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, I would even say if it takes more than 24 hours, brother, it's over. Cause it's like 24 hours is I get your number that night, we go to sleep, I like text you saying hi, you wake up, you see the message, you get the notification, because everybody gets notifications on their phones. You can't block all your notifications. Everybody talking about my phone was on do not disturb. Yeah, but you gonna still have to turn it off if an important thing comes through, and so you gonna see that. So yeah, if there's time to be ignored and she chooses to do that, then it's over. It's
Right,
over.
right.
The game's over. You gotta go. You gotta score something else.
No, but I agree with you. But here's the trick though. A lot of women they would the same thing with men. A lot of men and women they will wait a couple hours just to seem like they're not desperate. So what if that's the case? What if somebody is just overly like insecure about them being desperate to a point where they wait 3 or 4 days?
Uh, I'm on the autism spectrum, and I bring this up to people a lot to kind of say that I'm an oblivious person. So, that being said, if you like me, I'm going to need you to show the signs early on, and I'm going to need you to make it blatant because in my mind, I've got 60 other things going on. I've got
Right,
projects, I've got work, I've got all this other stuff. So, if you ignore my text, you can expect not to hear from me again because there's It's like I'm already on to the next thing. I'm already on to the next event, the next project, the next whatever. It's like, and I say all that to say that even for neurotypical individuals, if you like somebody, you need to be on it as far as making sure that you have that person locked down. Otherwise, that person is well within their rights to go to someone. See, people watch these movies where it's like, "Oh, I can't believe he went for this girl even though this girl liked him." You do realize that in real life, that girl didn't communicate. She didn't say anything. She didn't text. She didn't call him. She didn't even, he could have been in the hospital and she wouldn't have said shit. So what was he supposed to do?
Right, right, right. But here's the thing. Okay, okay, that's a good one. That's a good one. Because what if you really like that person though? What if you like, oh my gosh, this is the only person that I want? Like, what if that's the case? Would you wait a week or two?
No. Listen, maybe in high school, okay? Maybe in high
Uh,
school where it's common for people to wait weeks because, it gets around high school that you like somebody and all the other guys, even the ones that don't like you out of respect, stay away from who they think's gonna be your girl, whether she's cool with you or not. But I'm 25. I'm 25 years old. I graduated high school almost a decade ago. I don't necessarily feel like going through that high school hallway, having to decode you looking at me a certain way, and then I'm spiraling in bed at night, kicking my feet up like a little girl. It's like, that's not, we don't, this is not, that's not adult dating. That's not how that works. It works like this. And I'm going to tell you the exact message. Watch, for both genders. Hey, I really like spending time with you today. If you would like to hang out again, we could go get breakfast at this place at this time, and either I'll pay for it or we'll both pay for it or whatever, just to get to know each other better. Text sent, text agreed to, you meet, you have the date, you keep doing that same thing. Eventually you're back at the house, it gets all tense or whatever, you fuck, and then you're locked in. That is literally how it works. That is the only successful way that I've seen it work. Then after a year of doing that same thing, you get married, you presumably grow old, and then you die, and then you die. I mean, that's literally the only way I've seen it work. That's the only way
I,
I've seen it
I,
work.
hey, look, that sounds freaking amazing. That sounds amazing. I wish other people would take that study and act on it.
Right,
I definitely feel
right.
that. Like, I definitely feel that, but, like, these days, people got, like, 7 people that they're texting or whatever. Then if somebody want one thing, whatever, they go to that one person's house, and then the next person goes to the next person's house and all that. So it's like a bunch of chaos going on to a point where, like, we are creating narcissists or whatever because everybody's getting accepted by everybody.
Yep,
So now you're not gonna have a relationship. Now you're gonna see these women talking about how independent they are, but yet they're going to every other man's house. Yeah, they going like they're asking every other man for money and all that. They're doing all this stuff, whatever, but yet they're claiming independence. You know why? Because we accept it. You know why? Because we look at a fat ass, we look at big titties and all that, and we say,
yep,
"Yes, queen, you are independent and all that." No, like if they're independent, leave them alone. That's what we need to do. We need to leave these women alone. But if they claim they're independent and they're strong, that means that they don't
yep,
want you. So why are we
yep,
just fixated on bodies and looks and all that when they saying that they don't want you right in your face?
yep. And I mean, again, there's nothing wrong with an independent, strong woman. But see, the thing is, when you're with somebody else, you're not independent. When you're with your partner, you're not an independent man. And when you're with your partner, you're not an independent woman. If you're gay, neither of you are independent because independent means I am functioning by myself.
Facts.
If you are not
Facts.
functioning by yourself, if you are getting at least some of your emotional security from someone else, you're not independent. And that's where we
Facts.
go wrong when we try to mix the two. Two things can't occupy the same space at the same time.
That's a absolute fact. That's an absolute fact. But there's these simps out here, man, that just say
Uh,
yes. And it's funny. This we talking about manipulation. We talking about manipulation.
yep,
But picture these women out here saying that they're independent and they're strong, whatever, but they don't have their titties out. Like picture them actually having no makeup or none of that because makeup is a manipulation. Like having like half of your titties out is a manipulation. Like all the stuff that they're doing, all of the stuff that they're doing that's giving them the strength to say that they don't need a man is a form of manipulation. Because they know the
yep.
man is gonna go for them anyway.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's get on to the next section here because I actually I'm a little interested in your feedback on this as well. What does being a good person mean to you? Speaking of, being a good person, relationships and all that stuff, what does being a good person mean to you?
Not not being a burden. Like, you stay to yourself, whatever, until like, well, basically a good person only is very subjective too. So I'm not gonna say this is like pinpoint the correct answer. But it's to understand when you're needed and understand when you're not needed. But don't try to like barge into people's space whenever it's like valid for you. Understand the person's environment instead of barging into their environment because you feel like it. I think a good person understands like the world more than anybody else. Basically, they give when they feel like
I
giving.
see.
They give they give whenever they can. They help whenever they can. But whenever certain situations is not required to them, they stay in their own lane.
Right. As far as that goes, do you think people move the goalposts too much?
What you mean?
Do you think people like they don't they make being good a little bit more complicated than it is? It's like, what religion does. You're not good unless you give me a certain amount of money, show up to my church, do whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
do you think people just kinda it's like it doesn't a lot of people are just like, it doesn't matter what you do, they're waiting to morally judge you at a moment's notice.
Well, yeah, that's why I was thinking it's subjective because that's like a that's like a good and broad question at the same time. Because being good to me is just acknowledging and respecting me. But being good to somebody else, whatever, is just giving them money or giving them toys or giving them time and all that. So like basically we have to go based off of who that person is and how they feel. For example, like this is somebody that I know that think a good person is somebody that would take them out on dates and take them out on on trips and all that. You don't have to be like a really good person. You could be like like terrorizing the community and all that. As long as you give them money and take them out on the trips, you're a good person to them. But there's also some people out there that don't worry about the trips or don't worry about money. As long as you give them hugs and compliments. So like it depends on what the person needs
Fair
like
enough.
in life basically.
Fair enough. Right. And as far as that goes, who do you credit as a person for keeping you on the right path? Keeping you
Well,
from
yeah,
falling down into yeah.
my father was 100% because I think people know that my mother was narcissistic, but she came from a bad past and all that. But my father, he came from a good past and he was very spoiled. So he started spoiling my mother. So even though my mother was putting me through certain stuff, my brother was doing certain stuff too and all that made me learn bad things. But seeing my father come back home and treating my mother a certain way made me realize that that's how I want to treat the world and all that. So even though if my father wasn't around, I probably would have been as narcissistic as my mother and my brother. But my father came home to show me that he was empathetic towards my mom. And those two were the most important people in my life. So when I feel when I see my mom actually happy to see my father and she had no stress, whatever, dealing with my father, that made me realize that this is the only way that I can treat the world or whatever, because I can see my father treating my mother in such a good manner.
Right. And I'm assuming that the way your father was with you was also a big helper in helping you to determine what a good person looked like. Can you give an example of like one of the better times you've had with him?
Oh well, yeah. This is also what I brought up in my my video. We watched I remember when I was 12 years old, 11, 12 or whatever. And he pretty much came in my room and just to sit down and watch basketball because we were both big on basketball and all that. So he just sat down to watch basketball with me. And this is my first time really, really, really spending one-on-one time with my dad. And we just started watching it for 5 hours straight every weekend. He'd come in my room, we watch basketball, we used to chill, we used to chop it up, we used to talk shit. We used to do father and son type of stuff. And then it came to a point where he was enjoying the time so much to a point where like he just wanted to sit down. And the next thing you know, I
Hmm.
started watching SpongeBob or whatever. Like I started watching SpongeBob, and he started watching the marathon of SpongeBob with me. So that was another 3 hours. So that was another whole 3 hours or whatever. Like, and we just started
Wow.
chopping it up. And he became a big fan of Squidward and all that. So like, so it was like a dope situation to a point where I realized that like my father had like a really good personality. And that's what made me want to improve on my personality too. Because I seen how funny and how like charismatic my father was. But before then, I was just a person that just didn't talk, wanted to fight, wanted to like to be out there or whatever and doing stupid stuff. But when I saw my father actually talking and being charismatic, I learned a lot and I started thinking, you know what? Maybe I could be as funny as him.
You know what? That's pretty noble right there. And my final question before we go on a quick break here is, do you think narcissism is something that is built, or do you think you're born with it?
That's a good question. That's a good question.
Gotcha.
Cause I personally was built by having I was built with narcissism. But yet it's also developed. Like when like I think every if you own something, say what is the most valuable thing you own right now?
Right now, I guess one of my microphones.
One of your microphones. Say if your microphone could talk, and your microphone wanted to leave, and you didn't want that microphone to leave. Like, would you say say the microphone call you a narcissist because you're acting possessive, because you didn't want that microphone to leave and all that. But the reason why you actually want that microphone or whatever, because you value it, you put work into it. You put your hard-earned money into it. You put all this stuff into the situation to a point where it started developing in your brain or whatever that this is yours. So the moment that person want to leave or whatever, now you have to reset your brain to a point where like you're not going to want to start over. So now your brain is gonna try to force that thing back. But the person that want to leave, which is your microphone, want to leave, like they're gonna say that you're narcissistic and you're possessive, but you're thinking that I established a bunch of like emotional attachment towards you. So I personally think a lot of times when people like are like narcissists, whatever, it's simply because they've been installed in their brain in certain ways. Like if they have certain stuff that they possess, if they have certain stuff that praise them, they have certain stuff that that give them certain things and all that. They don't want that stuff
Okay.
to go away. That's why I think
So
narcissism is
it's
subjective.
okay.
I'm sorry.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it's like if somebody's brain was wired how I would feel if my mic just decided to grow legs and walk off, if somebody's brain was wired like that about people. And that has
Yeah,
to happen to somebody.
right, right.
Okay. Well, this was a great discussion so far. With all that
Great.
said, we have reached the halfway point, so it is time for what I like to call a groove break. When we come back, we'll dive into Zen's views on a little bit more on religion. We'll dive a little bit more into relationships and a couple other things, as well as his podcasting process and how that connects to his principles. It'll be a very human discussion, so you don't want to miss it. You're watching What's Going On with Dapper Don. Stay tuned. You're tuned in to What's Going On with Dapper Don. Don't touch that dial. And we're back. For those of you just tuning in, we just got through talking about Zzen's early life and why he calls himself a narcissist, as well as some of the struggles he went through while still coming out as a good person on the other side. Now we're going to get to understand his principles and beliefs a little bit more, as well as his podcasting methods and how his life led him to his way of thinking. So, in one of your videos, Zzen, I believe you mentioned that, well, it was the one where you had the tarot lady on. You mentioned that you aren't too cool with Christianity as a religion. What are some of your reasons for that?
Well, I'll tell you this, when I was growing up, that's all I had to learn is the Bible, Christianity, and church. God doing this, God doing that. But yeah, at the same time, I've been seeing a bunch of dysfunction. I've been seeing a bunch of abuse. I've been seeing a bunch of poverty coming from these same people. So I started questioning like if the God that they want us to believe in exists, why is it taking us so long to get out of oppression? Is God ignoring us or is God like uh treating us a certain way because we need to be punished or what? So next thing you know, I started traveling. Like I went to Haiti, whatever. I went to Puerto Rico. I went to Japan. I went to Egypt. I went to Ghana. And I realized all of these countries worship somebody totally different. So my question is, what made my God that I believe in more valuable than theirs? So it came to a point where like I started thinking like I'm going back home to dysfunction and they're telling me to believe in Jesus or believe in Christ or be a Christian. But yet when I asked them about Christianity, they say that I can't. But yet the people that was practicing voodoo actually know more about Christianity than the Christians do. So I
And they
started
let you
like
ask questions.
facts, facts. It seemed like every other religion can answer questions except for the one that I've been forced into. So that's when I started questioning my like my beliefs and all that. So now I'm agnostic because I understand that there might be something out there, but at this point, who cares? Like, let's
Right.
just live our life now. Like, what? Why are we worrying about afterlife? Why are we worried about the universe? They say God is like in the trees, God is in the sky, God is in the water, God is in you, God is in me. So if that's the case, why are we worried about somebody outside of who we are? Why not just focus on us? Why not praise us? Why not give to us and all that. We're treating each other wrong, and yet we're supposed to be the image of God, right? But yet, while we treating each other wrong, we treating ourselves wrong, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, you want me to
And
believe in somebody else.
yeah. And, a lot of my doubt with religion comes from the fact that a lot of where they hold the monopoly is people's fear of death. I'm just going to be
Yes.
straight up. It's like people fear what's going to happen to them after death. So if you just spend hundreds of years telling people that if you cut somebody off in traffic, you're going to be boiled alive and have your guts ripped out, then
Right.
people are going to be trying to be a good person so they can avoid being boiled alive and having their guts ripped out.
Facts,
But
facts, facts, facts.
you best believe it's not going to be genuine because there are some very heinous people in religion who I would imagine are only that level of heinous in particular. They'd be worse if they weren't part of that religion.
Facts, facts. And even if you look at the religion itself, even if you look at like, well, religion like legit started off from war. Like they started enslaving people, whatever, and forcing them to believe in the God that they believed in order to keep them enslaved. So this is why like the whole fear tactic came around because they feel like if you teach them fear, you'll teach them how to keep them coming back. Because now they're fearing the world or whatever. That's how a cult is born. Like you tell them to
Yes.
fear other things around them. They'll be punished with other things around them. So I am your savior. So stick to me. So that's exactly what they're doing. That's why you see like a lot of people that are going through oppression and poverty and sadness or whatever. They sticking to the God that teaching them fear because that's what they believe their only option is. That's why they stay in poverty or whatever, but they're wishing the God come back to save them.
Yes. And I know that the Bible in particular was a tool used to try and keep the slaves in check. After all,
Yes.
if you told a bunch of angry people who just got displaced from their country that if they would go to heaven if they just allowed a lot of that crap to happen to them because it was God's plan or whatever, then they would be less inclined to fight back, more inclined to just be servile, and they wouldn't have to worry about the rebel. Because, a lot of people, we were fighting back, right? In Africa, we were fighting back. We had outnumbered them, but a part of the tool they used to control us was our high level of spirituality at that time.
Right. Right. I agree. I agree. So now we have to figure out like but people don't even want to go across that route to understand what our spirituality is because we brought up how people think that people make us fear other stuff. So now we look at African spirituality as a scary situation or like evil. Or we look at people even look at Buddhism as evil. Like and that's like also a scare tactic and all that. So like I personally think the person that we need to fear the most is the one that's telling us to fear everything else.
Yep. Yep. And that's the person that we need to free ourselves from, honestly,
Yes.
because we'll get into it a little bit more later, but personally believe in like what you said, a measured kind of harm philosophy where the less harm you cause, the better off you are. And it doesn't matter what you believe in, who you are, how much you weigh, whatever. The less harm you cause, the better off you are. What was kind of your experience with Christianity that kind of made you believe what you believe?
What are you talking about? Like as in a Christian or outside of Christianity?
Well, what I mean is like who was the most active proponent of Christianity in your early life, and how did they kind of apply it? And in what ways did they apply it that kind of made you come to the conclusions you did?
Oh man, my my grandmother like would be one because she was a diehard Christian. My mother, I think my mother just wanted to follow what my grandmother taught her. My father is like a diehard Christian. My uncle, I looked up to my uncle, like he was a minister in the church and all that. So it's like a it's like hard to pick just one because my entire family was just big on God and everything. So that would be a tough one.
Were they very consistent in their applications of Christianity and the teachings?
They thought there was. So here's what I mean by that. Here's what here's what I mean by that. Like they will pray every day. They will like say, "Thank you, Jesus." They'll go to church Sunday, Tuesday, Friday, but yet they'll go home, smoke a cigarette. They will go home, eat some pork ribs and cow leg and all that. They'll do everything that
Right.
God condemned them from doing. They'll go out to gamble. They'll go out to like abuse other people, but they
Yeah.
will say that God is their Lord and Savior. They will even say grace while eating crabs. Be like, thank you God for giving me the food that you condemned us to eat. Like,
Right.
like yeah. So like, picture you doing that to your mom. Your mom tell you don't eat that cake in the refrigerator. Next thing you know, you go into the refrigerator, get the cake, and they thank your mom for it. Be like, thanks, mom, for. So that's the same thing that they're doing. They think that they're doing something good because they praising God or whatever, but all of their actions is saying something totally different.
And I think a lot of people kind of use religion as an excuse to hate, but a lot of people don't seem to like to read their Bible or their Quran or whatever book because in those books, if you translate them properly, a lot of the philosophy comes down to just leave people alone and be good on your own.
Okay, so when we look at God, right? We look at we need to fear God. God is a jealous God. God, He grieved that He made us. So these are the main terms that we look at God. But when we look at the devil, we look at free will. We look at He gave us the fruit from the tree of knowledge, and he also praised God too. And he was the most beautiful of all angels. This is what we look at Satan. But when we look at God, we look at fear, jealousy, and chaos.
I think that lends itself to because I don't know if you know, but I think you might know about the belief system of Satanism, where it's not necessarily a bunch of devil worshippers. It's just a bunch of people that don't necessarily believe that living in the world should be as rigid as we've made it over the last thousands of years for ourselves. You know,
Yeah,
it shouldn't be us having to tiptoe around. It should be us being able to express all of who we are.
facts, facts, facts. I mean, that's why I'm not a Satanist, but man, like he seemed like a cool guy. I mean, I'm not trying to I'm not trying to manifest the dude because I don't believe in the dude either. But if we want to go on like the Bible and all that, dude seemed like he alright. Cause cause God God wiped out 2.5 billion people. Satan killed 10 people. But yet Satan's the evil one? Just because he didn't listen?
And let's not forget the story of Job and how God just decided to like torture a guy for
Yes.
years of his life. His wife left him, his friends left him. I think he got plagued with boils and locusts and all that. Just ruined his life on a bet.
Yes. Yes.
It's like I
Absolutely.
don't know. I don't necessarily know about that one. It's like
Hey.
I don't know that that's a good story. Maybe the moral is, but I don't know that that's a good story because if I had somebody who was supposed to be caring for me plague me with boils, I would no longer want that person in my life. I would find I don't care if it's God, I'd find some way to go no contact. I'm just like, "You know what? Send me to hell. At least the guy I know that's
Ab
gonna torture me says he's gonna torture me before torturing me."
Facts. 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 And it's crazy because it's crazy because that's one of the main stories Christians use to say like, oh, God is an awesome God. Because because he's testing Job and Job is getting tortured. I think Job is just like a dumb person. He's just stupid, personally. So like I mean because like all it would take was for him to stop worshiping God for all the boils to go away. That's what I think will happen. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
I don't know, because I've had people in my life like that that I've had to cut off where it's just like, "Oh, you like me, but you're putting me through hell in order to be close to you. I just don't think that this is gonna work out. We should see other people."
Facts. But you know what's scary though? You know what's scary?
What?
Like
What?
a ball just went into my arm though. Like a ball legit a bump just bumped to my arm. I'm not sure if it was a mosquito or what. I ain't see nothing. So
You
let's
about to
just
get plagued with them
yeah,
locusts.
God is an awesome God, man. I rock with Lord Jesus. I rock with him.
I mean, the closest thing I have to a plague in my room is my clingy ass cat. So I think I'm good. He's
I
annoying
rock
though.
with it.
He's annoying.
I rock with it.
He's a
I
little
love
annoying.
cats
He's a
anyway.
tabby cat. I don't know if you know about tabby cats, but they, in terms of brains, they have no brains.
Wow. Tabby cat. I can look that
Yeah,
up.
they are an interesting breed. But while you do a little research into that, while you do a little research
But
into that,
they seem mad calm though. They look
they
calm.
do they are calm when they're not screaming their heads off. But we've talked about a relationship with God. Now let's just talk a little bit more about relationships, period. So, where do you think the modern relationship has gone wrong?
Social media. There's too much access. There's too much access of anything, basically. Like back in the day, like the reason why women are so independent now because all they gotta do is lift up their phone to get a bunch of compliments and a bunch of money and all that. To a point where like they feel like they don't need a man or whatever because all their men is invisible. All their men is on the phone. So like now it comes to a point where we allow our phone to be our social standpoint, basically. So now it just comes to a point where like we don't need like any interaction with people if we're going to get sex from the phone, if we're gonna get conversations from the phone, if we're gonna get money from the phone, if we can work from a phone. We could do all this stuff from a phone to a point where everybody is getting lazy, everybody is getting stagnant. To a point where like there's a you know about the Kanika Jenkins.
Tell me about that one.
Okay, so basically, like there was like a lady that was at a hotel with her friends and all that, and she got killed and all that. So and she got found in the freezer. But they were protesting. They were doing a bunch of fights and investigations to see where this lady is. But in the same time, in my neighborhood at that time, there was a child that got kidnapped. But the people that knew that child or whatever wasn't worried about the child getting kidnapped. They was worried about Kanika Jenkins because it was on social media. But people didn't know that the child was just down the street, and then the child was dead because nobody was looking for him. So it comes to a point where it comes to a point where cell phones and like the laptops are so addicted to a point where they're forgetting anybody like in the physical world now.
Yeah, I definitely can. I definitely see that. And yeah, we were never supposed to have access to this many people's opinions on anything. It just too many opinions were causing overwhelm, and now before you know it, you got people running around thinking that they're just that they're doing everything wrong because they're listening to somebody that doesn't even live in the same country as them.
Facts, facts, facts. Yeah, and it comes to I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Well, I was gonna say yeah. I mean, you got a, I mean, you had a point earlier.
Well, yeah, I mean, it just comes to a point where even like say the biblical situation and all that when they said it was gonna be the end of days. I don't believe it's gonna be the end of days, but like we have to look into the chip that's gonna be put into our bodies and all that. Like, do you really think that they're gonna install a chip in your body, or they're gonna install a chip in your brain using the phones? That stuff is like legit. That stuff is legit happening now. Like our brains is so focused on the phone to a point where like they legit put a chip in you without even knowing.
And it's gonna get a little bit more sinister with how technology is being used. It's gonna
Yes,
happen. But what do you think old school relationships have that new school ones lack?
but not really conversations, but we had to work to really get to know somebody. Like we legit had to go across the way, like walk a mile or whatever to go see your girl, like their girlfriend and all that. We used to have to take the bus or whatever to to visit somebody and all that. It's like we used to have to legit. Here's what certain stuff like that do. Like whenever we have to travel to see somebody, whenever we have to uh somebody or ask somebody out on a date and they get that confirmation saying yes and all that, it actually expands your oxytocin level. And oxytocin, whatever, will actually make you feel more whole. So when you're walking there, like when you're walking a mile or whatever, just to see this girl and the girl open the door and she smiles and all that, you're gonna release a lot of serotonin and endorphins because you actually had to work to do that. But today, we don't have to do that anymore because like just one simple text message, just like how we brought up the whole like 3 day situation. Like one simple text message is not gonna release the oxytocin in the serotonin because we're getting different text messages from 7, 8, 9 different people instead of walking to
Yes.
that one person house just to see them happy to see you. So now a lot of like chemicals are not being released in your brain anymore to a point where like now you're going to stagnate yourself. So that's where love start developing. Love start developing when you're actually releasing a lot of oxytocin and serotonin. But today we don't release that much. That's why you see a bunch of women saying that they're too independent because they don't have to work to like woo this man anymore. They don't have to work or walk across the street or whatever to give this person like love anymore. All they gotta do is show their titties or whatever and get a bunch of compliments.
Well, and I think people too are, because my generation, Gen Z, is kind of the last generation that didn't have access to a whole bunch of people on, like, we're the last generation before social media came into play. And so we're the last one who knows what it's like to have a crush on a girl and have to do everything in your power to get that girl's attention. Then once you get that girl's attention, start talking. Then once you talk for a few months to a year, then you confess and you can get rejected and your heart can get thrown in the trash. But once you get back up and you start re-pursuing a girl and you start like getting back in there and she says yes, then all that then it feels like it's earned, you know? It feels like it's like now people have access to, your OnlyFans, your Twitters, your whatever other site they can go on. They can go on a dating app and swipe, 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 swipe until their heart's content. People don't know what it's like to have to be noticed, people don't know what it's like to put yourself out there and get rejected anymore. And
Facts,
it's
facts,
messing
facts.
people up, to be honest, because
I that,
yeah.
no, I agree. No, I'm saying I definitely agree. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Well, I was gonna say because there's something powerful in knowing that at any moment you could be rejected. There's power in that because you know what that means? That means that you'll be more inclined to do what you need to do to keep that person around when you realize, wow, I put all this work in to get this person. They could very well just say, screw you, I'm gonna go with this one over here. And be able to get that without having to go online, without having to text anybody, without having to do any of that. And it takes a while, the time factor. So I think I think we've lost the time factor in it. I'm gonna be honest.
And like the best part about like actually getting rejected is usually when you fail, you start to understand what you failed on. Like, so if you get rejected, you learn something about what your flaws are. But today we have so many people that if somebody failed today, the next person is going to accept to a point where they don't have to learn anything. So that's why like a lot of women are narcissistic because if a man do tell them how they are, you have the next man to tell them that they're wrong. So they're gonna find somebody to validate how you feel. But back in the day when you got rejected, you just got rejected. You got to take that heartbreak and just run with it.
Yep. And you was called a bitch if you sat there, cried about it, or tried to stalk the girl, or tried to corner her, or do anything that these young motherfuckers call themselves doing now.
Facts, facts, facts. And mind you, you still had that,
And
but it wasn't as much.
it wasn't as much. At least it wasn't as widely publicized. And considering the way the culture was back then, you'd have the father, the brother, and even the friends coming to beat your ass if they found out.
Facts, facts, facts,
So,
facts.
I mean,
I
but
most certainly agree with that.
now I want to kind of talk about your health a little bit because I was curious about that when I looked into the video where you mentioned it. You mentioned in the past that you did have struggles with your health. Can you tell me about some of those and what prompted you to go on your weight loss journey?
All right, so I basically had a fat ass 2 years ago. Like, it came to a point where, like, okay, so when I realized I was fat, I was playing basketball. Like, and, basically, I was, like, jiggling the whole time, whatever, but one time I went to, like, get a rebound, and, like, when I jumped up, for one, I jumped up, and it was like a half-ass jump or whatever, but when I came back down, my ass was still in the air. So the moment my foot hit the ground, my ass clapped. So that's when I realized, like, you know what? I hope my teammates, or whatever, didn't hear my ass clap, because it would be weird, like very weird for my teammates to hear somebody twerking while they're playing basketball. So basically, like, later on or whatever, I felt kind of bad or whatever, and then 2 days later, there was a guy. He's a gay friend of mine or whatever. He's cool, but he said some weird stuff because he said, like, I look like I have a BBL. So that's when I'm like, you know what? Maybe I need to change the way I am. Maybe I need to change my diet to a point where I stop eating. I legit stop eating or whatever. Change my appetite. And luckily I wasn't eating when I was a kid. That's why I got my ass whooped when I was younger. But luckily wasn't eating when I was a kid, so I got used to it. So I'm like, yo, I can go 3 or 4 days without eating. So next thing you know, I started working out, became a vegan or whatever, started drinking mad sea moss and water and green tea and all that. I started doing whatever it took to get rid of my fat ass. And next thing you know, I legit lost 60 plus pounds within 2 months.
Now
And that was
that's
like
a
the
fucking
best accomplishment.
motivation, right there. That's
Yes.
a fucking motivation. Your weird friend says you look like you have a BBL. It's
Facts.
like, forget
Facts.
forget somebody online saying that you ain't a man unless you look like. Nope. My weird friend said I had a BBL, and that's when I knew it was time to change.
Changed my whole life. That's how
Yep,
now I'm
change your
healthy.
whole. It's like, I was gonna ask what exactly sparked the weight loss, and I was like, oh wait, never mind. You didn't want people accusing you of being a Kardashian. That's what sparked the weight loss. It's like, so you said you was drinking. See, you became vegan. You did all. Did you have to do anything fancy? Did you have to do any exercise plans or fancy powders, or was it just kind of you living your life, but you changing things up?
So basically, like, I had like I guess I was going through some sort of depression. So I had like an eating habit. I used to eat sandwiches every day. Like legit every day. I used to go to Publix or whatever, get like a sub sandwich or whatever, and then I go to Jersey Mike's to get another sub sandwich. I go get some oxtail and rice and all that. So I was thinking like maybe it's because I'm bored with my life. So same thing when I brought up the whole serotonin and the endorphins and the oxytocin and all that. I wasn't doing anything valuable in my life or whatever. I was just going to work and then coming home. So of course I had to like do certain stuff that was sort of an addiction instead of what I've loved. So next thing you know, I changed I changed the way I thought. Instead of doing my addiction, which was eating, I started doing what I love, which was working out, which was hanging out, which was I love roller coasters. I used to go on roller coasters all the time. I used to go to Sky Zone and all that. I did everything to release them endorphins and the chemicals naturally to a point where I don't think about food anymore. I don't focus on food because all my time is occupied or whatever with the stuff that like I was doing. So when I got home, I pretty much was had an appetite for kale and mushrooms and avocado because uh everything else was confirmed in my life basically. Because
Right.
usually people eat off of
So
impulse and not off of
right.
situations.
Yeah, no, I get you. No, so it's like you reframed where you were getting your dopamine from. You
Yes.
kind of switched it over. You forced it to, cuz at the end
Yes.
of the day people get fat because they're chasing a high. It's the same reason the drug addict does drugs, because they're chasing a high. The healthy way to do this is to shift that over to different things, healthier things that improve your overall life. That way, what you're addicted to isn't actively taking you up out of here.
Facts. 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 That's what I love doing too, man. I love my life now. I'm high off of life actually. I don't smoke, I don't drink, none of that. I get high off of life.
Well, that's great, but that doesn't exactly align with the message of this show. Do drugs. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking.
I'm a
Got it.
narcissist.
Got
I
it.
do drugs. I
We got to keep this show consistent with its messaging. Nah. But how are you maintaining your fitness goals now? Like, what are you doing every day now?
still eat healthy and all that. Happy. Like I said, I go to Sky Zone a lot. I go to parks a lot. I still go on the swings, whatever. I still chill out there, whatever. I go outside, I get vitamin D and everything. Cause that's also cause basically okay, so cortisol is a stress hormone that actually make you gain weight because you're like dealing with certain stress. So like the cravings is gonna be a lot stronger because you wanna oppress your stress levels and all that. So if you get like a lot of vitamin D or whatever, it's gonna decrease the cortisol level and it's gonna give you hydrogen to a point where you'll feel more at peace with yourself. So if you feel more at peace with yourself, you're not gonna need the appetite as well. You're not gonna like eat that much. You're not gonna um desire drinks or drugs and all that. So basically I do a lot of stuff to please myself.
That, hey, and there's nothing wrong with that. If there's one thing out of the narcissist playbook that I would recommend taking up, it's acting in ways that please yourself within
Facts.
limits.
Facts. Facts.
But now I want to talk about the Culture Shock podcast because I was watching a few episodes and I'm very curious. So what got you pull? What pulled you into podcasting?
Okay, so I wanted to own a cult, right? So
Uh,
yeah. Cult. Like, yeah, I want people to praise me real quick. I'm just playing. I'm just playing. No, I'm not
okay,
playing.
okay.
I'm not really. Nope. Hold on. I'm not really playing that much. But okay, so
I was
here's the
about to
thing.
say it. What do you do as a day job? Are you a banker by any chance?
Nah, all right, so boom, the culture shock or whatever. It started off because I still have a speech impediment. So I wanted to practice my speech. So the more I look into the camera and the more I talk, the more I get used to the more I get used to my own tone and my own voice and all that, to a point where I start developing like an improvement with my voice and all that. So basically, I have a podcast because I want to be a motivational speaker. I want to be somebody that go out there in the community and teach and talk and all that, like I used to and all that. So the more I do this, the more like my algorithm in life is gonna come up too. So like not only am I improving my speech, I'm also like going to bring people to me like to show them what I'm capable of with my speaking or with my teaching or with my like me trying to get to the community and all that. So the culture shock is simply for them understanding me or whatever, and also understanding that I'm there for people. So when I do my events like in South Carolina, I have more people coming to me or whatever and supporting me because I want to give to the world. So the culture shock is simply because I want to like give to the community more. I just need the community to back me.
Okay, I definitely can relate to that one. I'm curious as to where you find your guests from. Are they just people that kind of come to you, or do you go and meet them, or do they find you online?
Well, I used to come to people, but now like a lot of people are coming to me. I got another podcast tomorrow with like this photographer. And he hit me up. He's saying like, "Hey, yo, I want you to do my interview." And then somebody else said like, some famous barber in South Carolina. He said like, "Oh, I want you to do an interview with me or whatever." So like now there's people calling me up, but in the beginning when I was nobody just starting, I was trying to hit people up saying like, "Hey, can I do an interview with you? Can I do an interview with you?" So it comes to the point where the more I get used to people, the more people view my stuff, the more people will want to come to me instead of me trying to come to them.
Awesome. That's awesome. And how do you prepare to post each week? Like, what is the mindset that you go into? Are you anxious? Are you excited?
Post? What you mean? Just
Yeah,
the
to
next.
post an episode of your show.
Well, it depends on who I'm doing. If it's a corny podcast, I'm like, all right, I'm not even gonna shout it out. I'm just gonna do I'm just gonna do it and post it. But if it's somebody that I really like or vibe with, like I'm gonna support them and post them right away and all that. I'm gonna decorate there, just like I did. I did a podcast interview with this Black Panther. Like, and I love the conversation to a point where I wanted to like eventually I'm gonna like spread it across the world and all that. I'm gonna start sending it to a bunch of people saying like, you need to support this group. You need to understand like what we're trying to do and all that. Because like people that have good intentions or people that have meaning in what they're doing, I will value that a lot more. So I will post it with more emphasis in what I'm doing.
Okay. And this wasn't on my list of questions, but since you brought it up, I'm gonna throw the curveball anyways. What do you consider to be a corny podcast? I'm
Podcast is
about to get
a corny podcast is somebody that brings somebody on just to talk about what they want to talk about. They bring people on just to talk about their feelings. Why would you have why would you have guests on your podcast just to talk about you every week? That's what I think a corny podcast is. So for
you.
example, what you
You
what,
don't
what
like
you're
Joe
doing,
Rogan too much.
Joe Rogan? No, Joe Rogan,
Yeah.
he actually interviewed the people though. He actually interviewed like all the people that's on there. Yeah. But I'm saying like say if you invited me over to your podcast and you just start talking about your life and I'm just sitting here agreeing with your life. We gotta base our like we gotta bring the guests over just to talk about you. Those are corny podcasts. So I've been on a few of those or whatever, and I just didn't like it at all. They're very
I'm
corny. They just
wondering
want attention.
Yeah, I'm wondering how people can even remotely do that because I've been in conversations with people like that, and I just don't feel like that's a good show. I feel like the whole purpose of the word show is to show off something, show off
Right,
someone.
right,
You already
right.
have the show, so why are you still talking about yourself?
Facts, 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 and it's annoying. Oh my gosh.
That's like inviting somebody into your house and only letting them live in your bedroom.
Right, right.
Like,
You can't come upstairs, bro. You can't come upstairs. You gotta stay down.
and I guess my final question here is do you have any advice to newer podcasters coming in on how they can avoid kind of the traps of early podcasting?
Okay, okay. Well, since I'm a new podcaster, I can tell you what I've learned. I don't know.
Yeah, there's not many direct lessons you can get out of this experience.
Okay, I will tell you this trick. I will tell you this a small trick right here. Like if you trying to get like it depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to improve your voice like me, if you're trying to do something for the community like me, I would just go based off of the community that you want to go to. But if you want to get famous, if you want to like speak on pop culture and like just get big and all that, a weird trick is go for the has been famous people. Don't go for R. Kelly, but go for the lady that R. Kelly peed on. Go for people like that. So
Jesus.
like don't go for the actual famous people.
Yeah, don't
So
go
that
for
would be
don't go for Diddy, go for the lady he beat. Jesus Christ.
yeah, yeah, go for one of those. Go for one of those. Like just make sure and make sure you just strictly talk about that. Because there's no way you're gonna reach the famous person, whatever. But say if you do reach the person that got peed on it or got kicked, you might hear you might listen. The person that got peed on them or kicked them might listen later on saying like they're talking junk. So hopefully you get sued at the end. So when you get sued, that will make your that will make your name more valuable, right? So so
Damn
so
it, Zen. This is this is this started off as solid advice. Then we so in conclusion, be on a girl and you should be fine. I think.
whoa
Is that what
whoa
you were
whoa
saying?
whoa
Whoa,
no
whoa,
not
whoa,
at
whoa.
all.
Got a little
Why?
too much dip on my chip, huh?
No no
Jesus
no no.
Christ.
I'm saying target the girl that got peed on. Don't target the peer. Well, what I mean by this, right? The lady, we don't even know the lady name. So if we look for the lady, she probably working at UPS somewhere. So we're gonna just hit her up and say, hey, look, you want to talk about the R. Kelly situation when he peed on you? And then that will be a show, because you know why? People heard about the R. Kelly situation. So if you put that out there, you're gonna get at least 25 views. That would be a perfect start.
No, you're just like, you work at UPS. Did the word P, did the letter P have any, actually, that's a good clip. That's a good clip. I'm going to be honest with you. So, any of the women that R. Kelly peed on, I don't know if you're willing to come on What's Going On with Dapper Don, but I would certainly love to have you.
Yeah, man, it'll be fun.
I think we're going to wrap up before I become unable to post this episode. So,
Well,
do you have
appreciate
any
you having
final
me on.
thoughts?
All right.
No problem. Thank you for coming on. And do you have any final thoughts?
All right, so here's a quote that I say to people all the time, all right? Boom. What was that fucking quote? God damn. Yeah, all right? So have a good one, y'all. Appreciate you.
Oh my God. Well, just, I guess in conclusion, be careful not to just confine people to labels. Just because somebody is struggling doesn't mean it defines them. And like I said, the offer still stands. If you've been peed on by R. Kelly, reach out to me. It'll be dapperdon1012@gmail.com. Did you want to plug anything before we wrapped up? Any new projects, any new episodes you got coming out?
Well, yeah. I got a few, but yeah, I got like a few of them. I don't know, man. I just had fun, all right? I had fun.
All right. Well, I guess I'll
enjoyed
just link your stuff in the description. That's all for today's show. If you like this episode, don't forget to like and subscribe. All my socials will be linked in the description, as well as who helped put this episode together, as well as Zen socials. Follow us everywhere so you don't miss a beat, and tune in next Sunday at 6:30 p.m. for an all-new What's Going On with Dapper Don. You don't want to miss what I have in store. Peace out.